Hi Club Scrappers, it's Tricia here at Club Scrap with another fun tutorial on how to make the pages that are included with February's Turquoise collection. I do have to admit, this is one of my favorites. I love the gorgeous ribbons that we've selected, and there are actually 4 different flavors in this particular collection. We've got a dozen pre-cut photo mats here, and half a dozen of these really sweet little tassels. We'll set those aside, and then I've got a whole tray full of really cool embellishments. Some bezels that are designed to fit with the turquoise and white gems. So we have 4 bezels, but a whole bunch of gems that you can use in various ways on these pages, just to really bring in the actual turquoise into the collection. And that's not to mention all the beautiful prints and cut aparts. So let's go ahead and get started. Make sure you have your 12-inch guillotine trimmer and an accordion pocket file handy. Please reach out to us at clubscrap.com if you have any questions about that accordion pocket file, and we can help you make one for yourself. You'll also want to make sure you have the instructions, but I'll walk you through step by step. And one of the first things I do before I get started with trimming all the papers is just go ahead and file the photo mats into the pockets on the pages where they're going to be used. So let's start out by finding just one white photo mat, and we'll place that into the pocket for layouts 1 and 2, and then one dark turquoise. So that's this really deep, beautiful color, one of our favorites around here. That's also in 1 and 2. Then we have 3 blue photo mats needed. That's this brighter color, and turquoise actually does come in this color. These go in pockets 3 and 4. You'll also want to add the 2 remaining white photo mats to pocket 3 and 4. Next, add 3 red photo mats to pocket 5 and 6, and the 2 remaining dark turquoise mats to pocket number 7 and 8. Okay, so that's done. Next, we'll do a little bit more sorting, and that has to do with the papers that we're planning on trimming to create these pages. So I'm going to take this entire pack of paper, and I'm just going to hold it in the crook of my arm and sort through it. For the first piece I'm looking for is another one of those brighter blue planes. Now, the makeup of this paper collection is a little different than you're used to. There actually are 2 colors where there's only 1 piece included. So I wanted to include more colors, but I had to limit myself to 12 sheets. So that's why we have 1 of each here. So grab one of those blue planes. And then we need a border print. This is really beautiful with this red border on the edge. I'll place that face down on my trimmer base. And then this was another really, really special addition, is this cover weight metallic gold paper. So 1 of those we're going to have to trim. And finally 1 red plain. It's a beautiful deep red, and I find a red turquoise to be quite beautiful as well. Then from the back of your stack, I think you'll find the sheet of border print cut aparts, followed by 1 additional sheet of cut aparts. Again, I'll place that face down. Next, let's find this beautiful stone print, and then another dark turquoise. There we go, dark turquoise, followed by 1 of those gold planes. So this is the other metallic gold that you have. And then the other dark turquoise. Okay, next up we'll grab the remaining border print face down, a red plain, a light turquoise, and the stone print. It really starts to speed up as we reach our way to the bottom of the stack. And then flip everything back over so that this brighter blue is on the top, and that's where we're going to begin the trimming process. Okay, this is a nice easy one. I like to try to put one of the easier ones first so we can get warmed up together. And let's place that into the trimmer at 11 inches. Make sure you stabilize in the clear bar and allow the paper to stack up to the right of the blade. Then cut at 10 and 6. Next, rotate the 6 by 12 and cut at 8 and 4. Go ahead and stack up the 3 rectangles you just created and put them in pocket 5 and 6. And then take the 4 by 12, trim it at 6. Put these 2 rectangles in pocket 3 and 4. And then there are 2 more 1 by 12 inch strips. You can put those in pocket 3 and 4 at an angle rather than putting them straight up or trying to shove them into a 12-inch pocket. I like to file at an angle. Okay, next the border print will be placed into the trimmer with this most decorative edge on the far right. And we'll cut it 9.5 and 4. Now rotate this piece so it's horizontal and trim at 6. And place both of these pieces in pocket 1 and 2. And then take this next strip. It doesn't matter which side it is, as long as it's horizontal when you put it into the trimmer. And trim at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Stack up those 3 pieces and put them in pocket 5 and 6. You also have this long, beautiful strip here. We'll file that in 5 and 6. And there will be, I'm sorry to tell you, this tiny little scrap. Next, take the gold plane and we will place this into the trimmer and make a bunch of really narrow strips before we cut larger pieces. So the first cut is at 11 3/4, 11 1/2, 11 1/4. Then bring it down to 9 and 5. Rotate this 5 by 12. We'll cut horizontally at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. You'll find that series of numbers are very, very useful in this method of scrapbooking. And all 3 of these same size rectangles go in pocket 1 and 2. And then you'll find this narrow piece. If you thought that was a scrap, you were mistaken. I've kind of been doing this a little bit recently, and I really love the addition of these narrow strips. So let's just cut a V into each short end of the gold strip and place that in pocket 1 and 2. Then take the next 4 by 12 piece and trim horizontally at 6. Place both of these rectangles in pockets 7 and 8. The next strip I'll pick up, and I'm going to do that same series of numbers again. So the first one is 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. 2 of these rectangles that are the same go in pocket 5 and 6. And then this one goes in 7 and 8. And then we have this tiny little guy. And this time I'm going to put a triangle into just one end. And place this in pocket 1 and 2. And finally we have 3 really narrow strips. Put 2 of them in pocket 1 and 2. And the other strip in 5 and 6. And all you have for your scraps from the gold, which to me is priceless, is 3 of these little triangles. Not bad, right? Okay, now onto this beautiful deep red color. We're going to make a bunch of narrow strips again. So 11 3/4, 11 1/2, 11 1/4, 11. Now I move down to 9 1/4. And 6 1/4. Let's rotate so it's horizontal. We'll cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. One of these goes in pocket 3 and 4. The other in pocket 7 and 8. And now you have this narrower rectangle. We'll trim that horizontally at 3 1/2. And that makes a square. Let's put that in pocket 5 and 6. Pick up the now smaller rectangle. Trim it horizontally at 1 3/4. Put one of these in pocket 3 and 4, and the other in 7 and 8. Now we have this long strip. Here's another ideal set of numbers here to make pieces that you can distribute equally on a page, and I'll show you more about that later. We'll cut horizontally of this. It's a 3 by 12 right now. We'll cut at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, and 2 3/4. You just made 4 rectangles that are the same exact size, and there will also be a smaller piece. Put the 4 rectangles in pockets 7 and 8, and this joins the ever-increasing huge pile of scraps. Okay, this wider border strip, put that in 7 and 8. And then we have 4 really narrow pieces, one of them in 3 and 4, the next one in 5 and 6, and the remaining 2 in pocket 7 and 8. Now let's take our border strips. If you're following along with the instructions, I've now gone to the front page and I'm going to look at this image so I can see where each piece will be filed. And while there aren't numbers in your instructions for where to cut, there are these little guidelines. So if you're not going to follow the video for the trimming instructions, it's okay. You can still just slice along those guidelines by lining them up with the outer edge of your stainless steel blade on the trimmer. Otherwise, that first cut's going to be at around 10.5. Then 9 3/4, 9, 7.5, 5.5, and 3 1/4. Okay, this first piece, we'll file that in pocket 5 and 6. For the rest, if you've been with me for a while, I like to, as best as I can, pick them all up off the table, but leave them in the same order they landed. And then I can deal them out more easily. This Making Memories, 1 and 2. Discover, 5 and 6. Welcome to the Best Day, 7 and 8. This Print, and then the guy right next to it, Life is So Lovely. They both go in 3 and 4. And then this beautiful marbly look, 7 and 8. Okay, let's pick up our next print of cut aparts, and we're going to place this into the trimmer with the words Picture Perfect in the upper right corner. And we'll find 10.5 inches. Then 7.5. And 4. We'll rotate and trim horizontally at around 6. Okay, this larger piece with the stone frame, that goes in 1 and 2. And then this frame will be placed in 3 and 4. The next strip, we'll place it with the journaling prompt on the right, cut at 10, 8, and 6. All right, this frame goes in pocket 7 and 8. And then the journaling prompts, there's a horizontal that goes in 5 and 6. Then another horizontal in 7 and 8, and this vertical prompt, 1 and 2. Pick up this next strip. Make sure it goes in with the word love upside down on the right. That's 9.5 and 6. The world needs who you were meant to be. That goes in 7 and 8. Every moment, 3 and 4. And these last 2 pieces need to be separated, so I'll take care of that. Love goes in 7 and 8. And then ta-da's goes in 3 and 4. Okay, now we have one last piece here. Picture Perfect. That's this. This one will go in pocket 1 and 2. And the journaling prompt, 3 and 4. Okay, again, your scraps of the day are these 2 guys. If you tried, you could probably find a nice home for them on your pages, and then you can say that all you had were 3 gold triangles, which you could probably find a home for on those layouts. All right, let's get started with some dry fit assembly. That means putting our pages together without adhesive. Okay, so if I now turn to page 4 of my instructions, and I'm going to look toward the bottom at layouts 7 and 8, this is the layout we're going to try to dry fit first. And then what I'm going to do is imagine that I have 2 piles in front of me. Well, I am going to have 2 piles in front of me. And let's take the entire stack of all the remaining pieces that you've sorted, and we're going to put that to the left of center. I'm going to take the top piece and slide it to the right. And what that will give me then is the base for layout 7 and 8 right in front of me, ready to go. I hope you can see all of this. I'm not sure how it's going to crop when I get this into my editing software, but we'll do our best. And then I'm going to take everything out of pocket 7 and 8. Make sure you get it all. I always like to look in there to double check. And then we'll just sort of try to distribute these items to the 2 pages to make sure we have everything accounted for, and I can give you some tips along the way. Let's start out with these larger photo mats. And what's nice about these is your photo can just be 4x6 and it'll fit perfectly into that space. Then a vertical red strip that should nest with this guy. And everything might be a little crooked on there, so bear with me. And then a larger red photo mat, followed by this gold mat. There should be a small red piece in there, and then if you look at your cut aparts, the word love should nest onto that cut apart perfectly. Same with this gold down over here, the gold piece of paper that nests with the journaling prompt. Now, remember when I said that we were going to make a series of cuts that were kind of ideal? Well, watch this. Here are 4 pieces of paper that are 2 3/4 of an inch wide, and they fit perfectly across the top with nice equal spacing. And when I adhere those, of course, I use my grid ruler to help me keep them level and equally spaced. We're going to then create a separator between that row and our next items, which are going to be a series of 3 elements that I love, love, love. This beautiful piece. Aha. Then one more matching separator here, and then my strip across the bottom. Now there are some embellishments that are going to be used. We've got this really adorable little tassel, and to adhere that I just used some bookbinding glue dispensed from a needle tip applicator that worked perfectly. I just added a little to this area and then placed it and just gave it just a moment really to dry. And then covering the love charm up here, I'm sorry, the love little cut apart, I used a bezel setting and a teal gem, and took some natural colored wax linen thread and just tied a little bow on there just to give the eye a little something to land on. And I can show you when I go through the finished pages, but that's a lovely addition to that side of the layout. Then to complement this embellishment here, I like to carry it over to the other side if I can. So I laid 3 turquoise gems on this bottom strip. Once again, I used the bookbinding glue to attach them. Also, along the right edge of this border strip, we've added a length of, like a 14-inch length of ribbon. This is that. It has like a gold sparkle to it. So, so beautiful. The remaining piece I used around this area, and I used a 3-part bow technique, which I'll also show you on the finished page. And I've talked about the 3-part bow quite a bit in the past. Okay, so now what we do is slide that over, and then slide again. Now what we have on our pile are the base for layouts 5 and 6. And then, of course, the content of pocket 5 and 6 is needed. Let's pull that out. Make sure you get it out, everything. And we'll start out with 2 horizontal larger mats on the left, followed by 2 brighter blue nesting on top. And I have this set of 3 pieces that were trimmed from the border print and turned into photo mats that are 3 3/4 inches wide, which gives me a really nice spacing once again, which I like that row, that film strip style. Another separator here with our Discover strip, and then a nested pair. So this, it's nice that where the positioning of the word has this, the photo mat fits right in there without covering anything up, and I can nest right onto that. And here we have a rectangle, or a square red mat. Down on the left we have this border strip, and instead of, it kind of looks like it could be paper, but I actually took a section of this beautiful red silk ribbon and wrapped that around this side of the layout, and then I made a really pretty bow with the ribbon to be used above the word Discover on the right side of this layout. So I did a little bit of bow making. It's my favorite thing now. I used to hate it, but since I learned how to make my bow technique here, that looks kind of nice. Okay, then back to the left side of the layout here. So I've got these 2 nested mats, and what you can do is add a gold strip to sort of create a rectangular shape over here. It's all about balance. And then I also added this Memories Capture to Share vertical cut aparts. The journaling prompt nests beautifully here, along with the other gold rectangle. Now, one of the embellishment things that happened over here that I really like is that I used 2 of these red cabochons. They're kind of a sparkle to them. And I took a teal tassel and I adhered it right below this cabochon. It kind of looks like it belongs there. I don't know, kind of adds a neat flair to it. So that is happening over there. On the right side near the word discover, I took another bezel and used bookbinding glue to attach a white gem, and then added that with some wax linen thread, tied on, glued it to this area right here. And you'll see that again on the finished pages when we review those. Now we get to do this stack and slide again. So I'm going to slide this and stack it right on top of the previous page and slide again. And that should be the base for layouts 3 and 4. Flipping right along here. Pull everything out of that envelope. We've got 2 horizontal 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 mats, and then 2 vertical white over here. So the key here is to get the right mat in the right place. So you have to make sure that you have the right size mats. These are larger. Here we go. So you should have 2 blue mats that fit onto the weight, and then 3 that don't. Okay, then we have some border strips here. So we've got this blue colored strip that will nest nicely with this cut apart, and another blue colored strip that will nest nicely with this border strip here. Life is so lovely. Life is so lovely. Most days. Okay, then we have this element nesting onto the red mat here, and I'm going to show you a little something special about that in a minute. Underneath the Life is So Lovely, I'm going to add just a red. And what I like about that red, just that little 1/4 inch piece of red, mirrors the color that's the base of the facing layout, which kind of helps tie it all in. Then you'll be loving how this nests right on here. And we've got another cut apart. Actually, I have it going over the photo, but when you're adhering it, be careful to not put adhesive in that area so you can slide the photo in place. And we're finishing with this. A little bit of this white, really narrow white grosgrain ribbon is tied around this cut apart. 3 red gems can be added here with 3 red tassels to make a little row here. And I will demonstrate that in a minute. Now, what I want to show you that happened with this, just kind of serendipity, I guess. I had this cut apart frame, and because I have some confidence with a craft knife, I decided to cut the window out of this particular piece. So in fact, I just replaced the blade on my craft knife, and if you haven't done that in a while, make sure you do that because it really makes this job easier. So just take your time and remove the innards of this frame if you're up for the task. Okay, with that removed, what's really cool you can do next, if you want, is grab your trimmer, take what was inside the frame, put it vertically into the trimmer, and just kind of cut it in half. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. I'm just guessing on cutting it in half. So set that aside, get rid of your cutting mat. Now you can nest this right onto that red mat. So cool. And these 2 pieces can be used on the layout that just we worked on before. So this one can be placed here, kind of tucked underneath. And then the other one, this is the advantage of not sticking everything down. The other one can be used down over here, kind of tucked in underneath there. So we have some nice carryover of this element to actually 3 whole pages instead of just 1 page. Okay, we are sliding. And now in front of us, we have the base for layouts 1 and 2. So naturally, our task is to empty pocket 1 and 2. Make sure you got everything. Many people have been confused by pieces left behind, both the lever and the finder. Okay, so our title here on the left page, going across the top. Honestly, I didn't even want to cover this print in any way, but here we are, covering it with things. Soon it will be photos. We'll take a set of 3 mats that are 3 3/4 inches wide, or tall, I guess, and then allows for nice even spacing in that film strip style. Once again, with my ruler, I will use the 0 center to make sure these are placed beautifully straight in a nice row, and then a gold strip to separate this space over here. How about a vertical white, just a plain white photo mat, and then a teal photo mat that can overlap if you kind of like the feel of that, nested with this really neat image. 2 vertical mats here, a cut apart that says picture perfect, kind of lines up with the left edge. Then we have our banner nesting here, a large bow, a nested bezel, and then this goes over here. If you can grab one of those teal tassels, and then just a row of the remaining. You'll use every gem we sent you if you choose to use them this way. You could just make a pair of earrings out of them if you wanted to, but a row of 3 gems along the right edge here. So now that our dry fitting is complete, now would be a great time to adhere everything. But before you do that, let's take a quick tour of the finished pages. Here we are at layout 1 with a rather large bow that I made with the gold edge satin ribbon. Really happy with how that came out. And then I wanted to show you the gem that's nested on the bezel. And I took just a piece of wax linen thread from my stash. And if you don't have that, it's not a big deal. Another option would be to take a needle tip pliers and then just clip off the hanging hole from the bezel. But I think with the thread there, it kind of gives it a nice attraction there. So that's page 1. Also, a tip for adhering these narrow strips. I just adhere the larger border strip first, then use the edge of it as a guide for applying bookbinding glue, and then layer the gold piece right on top. Here on the next page, I've got my beautifully aligned photos. This has been glued with bookbinding glue and the addition of 3 white marble gems here, followed by just the ribbon tied completely around the bottom of the mat. What was nice about this kit is I had 4 ribbons to use and 4 sets of pages. Speaking of ribbon, I have a double tie and a small bow wrapped around this cut apart just to kind of bring the eye to the upper left corner of the layout. The 3 gems with 3 tassels. Love the way it looks like they're sort of meant to be together. Meant to be. Here we have layout number 4 with our open frame and then our white marble gem nested on the bronze bezel. And again, I love how that just fit in there perfectly with, again, such little waste on this particular collection. Here we have that half of a piece. And I think when I was walking you through this, I put this gold strip in this area, which was originally how I had it. But when I was finally adhering everything, I moved it over here. And I just like the way it creates a frame around the space. This is that satin ribbon, so don't mistake that for a piece of paper when you're doing the assembly. Here's my red bezels glued above and below with the teal tassel attached on the bottom. The facing page for that, this is paper, but this is ribbon. So it kind of creates a little bit of a carryover again, a nested gem on a bezel, and then the other half of that innard. So I love how much mileage I got out of that one cut apart element. Here is that 3-part bow that I made, and I attached it to the page with glue lines, and then this still leaves room for, I think it's a 4.5 by 3 inch vertical picture. Plus you have 4 more spots for pictures here, this vertical, and if you wanted to, you could cover this with pictures as well. In my opinion, the pictures always take priority, but if you have cut aparts, sometimes that can help you if you don't have a lot of pictures of a certain event. Like if you only had 3 pictures, you could put 2 across these 2 squares, 2 more over here, 1 here, and then call it done, right? So I just like to offer as much flexibility as possible. And then glue these 3 gems onto the page with bookbinding glue. That works great. And the last page, of course, with our tassel here at the bottom, the ribbon wrapped around, and I just folded it over and taped it in place, and another nested bezel fits right on top of the charm that was printed onto that cut apart. Wow, in record time, my friends, that is the Turquoise page kit. I hope you really enjoyed making these pages and that you have pictures already in your stash that you can add to them once everything's adhered. If you like this theme, make sure you check out the the tutorial I made for the beautiful turquoise cards. Wonderful collection of really elegant greetings you'd be proud to send to anyone. So we'll see you over there, and we'll see you back here next month. Thanks for joining me.